Hey everybody, it's Doug Green and I'm the publisher of Technology Reseller News. We're back with our probably final Channel Partner MSP Expo, MSP Summit 2026 podcast, and we have Julie Thiel of TTS Company. Julie, thank you for coming.
Hi, Doug. I'm so glad to be back on the podcast. It's good to see you here, and I'm actually kind of glad to be your closer today.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We have a lot of discussion about technology, a lot of discussion about AI, but with Julie, you get to have a discussion about human beings.
That's right, about people, which really is the engine of all these businesses. So, no, I'm excited to jump into these topics today. I got a chance, since we're kind of at the end of the expo. I've had so many interesting conversations with really motivated leaders that are looking to build their companies. And, what I was struck with is just the heaviness of that. I mean, there's so much excitement about adding clients, new technologies, about all the possibilities. But every time you grow, that means ultimately more people. With more people comes more pressure. And I just know a lot of these leaders are working a ton of hours, bringing their dreams to life, and feel so responsible for their teams. And it just really struck. I was hearing a lot of that during the conference today.
So what happens? In other words, you're an MSP, you're a channel partner company. A lot of these companies are not mom and pop, but they're family run. Or maybe there's two families running it or something like that. And the owner has that technology background, and what happens? He gets sort of stuck.
Absolutely. Well, it's just the volume, because again, the MSP owners I talked to, they got into the business because they love the technology, they love the clients, but they weren't really prepared for the complexity of managing people.
Right.
And so they end up taking on much too much. And the way that I usually look at it, like at some point in these businesses, these leaders need to do what I call replace themselves. They need to get out of the business of doing everything and start building a team that can really support that next level of growth, so that they're freed up, the owners are freed up to do the things that they're fabulous at and that they love to do, versus getting pulled into all the management of the day-to-day work.
Julie, it's so hard though, because like so many of these companies were bootstrapped, and these people, I should say, went out and they just did it on their own.
Sure.
Then it grew, and then they hired, and it sort of got cobbled together, and all of a sudden we're where you are talking about, and it's really hard to step back from all that.
It is. And that's why my big message today is about the importance of delegating, because without delegation, you're not really scaling, you're just working harder.
Right.
And there are limits to the number of hours that you can throw at a problem. At some point, you need to train someone else to take care of ongoing issues and ongoing things that, again, you have done forever, really well. So it's your baby lots of times. So the work that you're doing, you have to hand that off to someone else. And again, delegation is one thing as a concept. I think everyone will nod their heads and go, yes, I need to delegate. But the work of actually, yeah, exactly. It sounds good. But how do you actually do that?
Right.
And so that is what I have a few ideas for the listeners today to walk through.
Okay, let's get to that. What are those steps?
Well, I have 4 things I just want to go through really quickly. So the first thing is that from a mindset standpoint, you have to shift your mindset from, again, yes, you're going to be handing off tasks, but you have to actually hand off ownership. So, and what that means is not just, again, you're going to hand off you're handing off the results. And again, typically we'll talk about how you teach someone how to do that work, but ultimately they're going to put their own stamp on it. You have to be okay with that. So ultimately they may find a better way, a more efficient way, you never know, to get the work done. And you should be encouraging that. So that's really handing off ownership versus just the task itself.
Now, let's stay with this, because I think in the technology world, there's almost an artistic element to being a technologist, right?
Sure.
It's very similar to art. You have your way, and there's sort of the pride of ownership of, I did that patch, I wrote that code, right? Or whatever. How do you break that spell? Like, in other words, I kind of like doing that. And I look at me, I'm so good at this, but I'll make more money and have more equity if I go this other way.
Well, I think that's the internal battle is like,
Right.
it'll be faster if I do that myself.
Right.
And the thing is, at some point, that's not true, because if you don't hand it off, you've got to start looking at what's happening because you're not handing it off. And typically that means you're not as able to work with your clients or on other technical fixes that only you can do if you don't take those other things that are a little more routine and hand them off to someone else. So again, that's what I mean. It is a little bit of a mindset to begin with, to be okay with letting go of that baby that you've kind of developed over the years to someone else. So,
all right, now, so handoff results.
Yes.
What's the next one?
The next one is a method that I think is incredibly effective. Very simple. So how do you train someone to do the work? So it's tell, show, do. So the first thing you do, and it's easy to remember, right? Tell, show, do. So you tell someone what the work is and how to do it. And then you show them, so you do it with them. And then you have them do it. And then you're watching and coaching at that point. So it's really, so think of the 3 steps. And I think where people go wrong is because it's work that they know how to do so well. They're the expert. They don't take the time to do the telling and the showing. They really just jump to the doing. And I have done this myself. Like, I have a junior person working with me right now, and I kind of expect her to read my mind. And so the only way she can help me is if I, again, hand something off by telling, showing, and then having her do it and watch it. So I've had to do this myself. So not sure what your reaction is to that kind of process.
No, it seems logical, but I bet it's hard. It sounds easy, but I bet it's hard. Is it hard?
Not necessarily, because again, when you're telling, you get the chance to really go into not only the work, but why you do it that way. And you know what I mean? Like, the telling can be to whatever extent, and I encourage you to tell not just what you're doing, but why you're doing it. Because there is a reason. And that is part of why it's sometimes hard to do these handoffs. It's because you know all the backstory. You know that exception to the rule or that special circumstance and something that happened previously. So this telling, showing, do gives you the platform to really kind of give them the secret sauce on, on what it is.
And there's also generational, right? Those fresh eyes, to your point earlier, are going to see this project or problem differently. So it sounds like you got to accept the idea of, let me just do it a different way.
Yes, and that is actually, you set this up perfectly. The third thing that you have to remember is that, expect it to be 70% as good as you do it. And then you have to let it go. So you will not have someone do the work that you've done forever, that you created, at 100%. It's probably going to be about 70% as good as you do it. And the other piece of it, you have to define what good looks like. So we'll cover those last 2 together. So define what good looks like, and then be okay if it's not 100% perfect.
And this is a huge thing, right?
Sure.
Because, and I'll use the hotel that we're in is the Venetian and the Palazzo.
Yeah.
This wasn't a corporate hotel. There was an actual individual who built this place.
Okay.
Now, obviously, he couldn't build it on his own. Obviously, this mammoth thing couldn't be staffed on his own.
It's an incredible operation.
Right. I mean,
really
it is kind of admirable, right?
Yes.
That the machine, like, how this operates, how many moving parts. So, but it was an entrepreneur. So something to be admired, right?
That's right.
Now, at some point, I really don't know what his hospitality skills were, right?
Sure.
But he had to let something go at this point, right? He had to say, well, it's not quite the way I would have done it. It's not quite the way I would have, I don't know, handled that guest or something, but it's really good.
So I think that's what's so important, though, is that you have to take a little bit of time and put down, potentially even on paper, what the standard is.
Right.
Like, what is the standard? What is a successful handoff, right? In my world, what is a successful handbook? What does that look like? And, as I bring my staff in to help clients put handbooks together, that is something that I am articulating. Like,
right.
This is how I do it. This is how I think about it. These are the questions I ask, and really articulating that. That's my process. That's what good looks like. And then handing that off to my team. Again, I'm inspecting that. We're having conversations to make sure it's at standard before it goes to a client. But it really has pushed me to sit down and think about things that I probably have assumed I got to be very specific about. So it's a good process, because once that's down, I don't have to get into the depth of building an employee handbook in the way I used to, which is, again, good for
Very
me
good.
and really good for my staff to be learning how to do as well. So
now, Julie, what's the fourth one?
Oh no, those are the two. So I kind of blended them. It's what does good look like,
okay.
and 70% good.
All right.
So
idea,
yes.
maybe the capper might be, how do I keep, this is a discipline, right? This is going to be,
it is.
I don't want to use the word hard, because, but let's say it's challenging.
I'd say emotional too.
Yeah,
Again, there's an emotional hook here when you're handing something off, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
But you're also creating, so I think there's a vision behind this. I think what you're telling me is, in doing that, you're creating brand, you're creating equity.
That's right.
You're creating a machine.
And you're creating the team that we talk about. I mean, growth is possible when you have confidence in your team to take over the work, so that so you don't hesitate. A big client opportunity, I heard so many people really excited about big opportunities here, but in order to accept that and do that, you've got to have other people in place that can help you to deliver. And so, delegation feels, again, it's one task or one situation at a time, but over time it builds up into you having an amazing team that is all aligned on expectations and able to deliver. So you don't hesitate to take on that next big client, because you've got it. And you've got that system to hand off to the next person, so you can add to your staff. So critical, absolutely critical.
Very important,
yes.
But it's harder. It's easy to say it here, but harder to do at home. But if you get into it, you have to get into the habit. And I was also thinking to, like, back onto one of your points, they're going to do it a little different than you.
They are. Yes, exactly. And I think, you will be amazed at what people bring to the table on whether it's automation or standardization or a new process. I mean, that's what I love about this business, is that there's a lot of ways to get from one point to the next.
Right.
And I certainly have my way of doing it. There's a reason I do it that way, but I can't get overly attached, because what I care is about the results. I want clients to be served. And so if someone has another way to do that, like, let's try it. Let's try it and see. And I think that is the entrepreneurial mindset brought into scaling. So it's still possible.
And as a human resource person, I want to bring in the human resource side of this too.
Sure.
Because so many people who are not owners, who are employees, say, "Gee, I worked at this place and it was soul crushing." Right. And it's not like anything terrible really happened, but it was like this sort of overwhelming. It has something to do with what you're talking about, where they sort of monitored how you were doing things, and it makes people not very creative.
That's right. So yeah, you have to be careful as we're talking about this, for sure. We're not talking about micromanagement.
Right.
We're talking about
actually kind of the opposite.
Yeah, it's
right?
the opposite. Yeah. It is when you really delegate something, as we talked about, you're delegating ownership. So that person is now responsible for that body of work, whatever it is you handed off. And that is an empowering feeling when someone's handed something significant off to you. So I believe it's that's really where development and growth happens. And I think that's where employee loyalty and engagement, ultimately, to bring it full circle, really starts to come from, because people feel valued, they feel trusted, they can see their own impact. And that is when, as an organization, things get exciting, because you have people who feel pride and ownership and loyalty. And I think that opens them up for creative ideas to take your company to the next level.
Julie, I really want to thank you for joining me today. This is really interesting. I love that we got to do a tutorial for everybody. Now, and also, let me also add, I hope you don't mind, you've kind of done a little bit of rebranding. You're now the TTS company.
Yes. So I used to be, still my legal name is Thiel Talent Strategy LLC, but I've changed it to become TTS company. And that is because we are growing. And I really had to take a step back. And again, my name's Julie Thiel. Again, love my name, but having it as part, my business is bigger than just me. And so I needed a brand that was bigger than just me. So, we're in a period of exciting growth right now ourselves, and I'm being challenged to delegate. So I am talking to myself as much as I'm talking to you about this topic.
Where can people learn more?
Yes, absolutely. So my new website is thettscompany.com. And if any of this has struck a chord with any of you out there, you're feeling like you're in that kind of pressure cooker of needing to start handing things off, bringing in TTS Company to do evaluation, take a look at your business, and see where we might be able to help with additional HR support or other services. That is exactly what we do. We want to free you up to be able to grow your company with confidence.
Well, Julie, again, thank you very much indeed. I'm looking forward to the next event. I hope we do a podcast in between then.
I look forward to it. We need to. So many good topics out there to talk about. So thank you.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.